US President Joe Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have spoken on the phone for the first time since August. The leaders discussed Israel's plan to retaliate against Iran. No doubt. Let's go to America now. Joining us from the Pentagon is the US Department of Defense Press Secretary Major General Patrick Ryder. So with all of that said, Pat, good to talk to you again, by the way. I wouldn't expect you to talk about the ins and outs of a phone call, but more broadly, how are things at the moment between the two leaders?
Yeah, well, first, Pete, thanks so much for having me. Good to see you again. We have frequent dialogue with our Israeli partners. As you know, there are significant tensions in the Middle East right now. Here at the Department of Defense, our Defense Secretary, Secretary Austin, engages with his Israeli counterpart on a near weekly basis, if not more frequently. So, again, lots to talk about, particularly as it relates to Israel's potential response to Iran.
Yep.
So we'll continue to have those conversations.
Let's get to that now then. No doubt Iran was a point of discussion today. So what do you expect Israel's response to be?
Well, again, we're having those discussions, trying to understand, next steps. I'm obviously not going to preview that or get into potential future operations. From a U.S. standpoint, we're focused on several things. One, making sure that our forces in the Middle East are protected, but importantly also supporting the defense of Israel. So that will continue to be a priority for the U.S. going forward.
So, I mean, in my discussions, and I know you don't want to speculate on all of this as these discussions are had, but in my talks with experts here, it seems like it's going to be three choices here. One, nuclear. Two, oil. Three, military assets. Going to be one of those three. Is that your reading?
Well, again, as I'm sure you can appreciate, for operation security reasons, I won't preview a partner's plan. Again, we're talking through those kinds of things with them. We fully understand Israel's inherent right to defend itself, but we also, importantly, don't want to see further escalation in the region. So an important part of these discussions is, again, looking at how we can get to the point where diplomacy can help transition us to a more stable environment in the Middle East.
There will be an attack on Iran, though, either way, wouldn't there?
Again, I'm not going to speculate. We're very focused on making sure, again, that our forces are protected, that Israel's defended, and that we're ready for any type of contingency that may occur.
So when you say, you don't want things to escalate further, let's zero in on Lebanon now. Does the US support a ceasefire in Lebanon at the moment?
Well, look, again, you have a situation here where a year ago, yesterday, Lebanese Hezbollah began conducting missile strikes against Israel, rocket attacks, what have you. So we fully understand and support Israel's right to defend itself. As you know, they're doing limited raids across the border into Lebanon to take away some of that attack infrastructure. Ultimately, though, at the end of the day, we firmly believe that diplomacy is the only way to resolve these tensions and get people back into their homes on both sides of the border. So we're going to continue to support Israel's defense, but we're also going to continue to do a full court press on the diplomatic front.
Sure. OK, so you support its right to defend, as we do here in Australia too, but are you supportive of its attacks on Hezbollah targets?
Well, Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, obviously, and as I mentioned, they started conducting these attacks on October 8th, the day after Hamas's terrorist attack against Israel. So again, we fully understand and support Israel's right to defend itself, and they are surrounded by a significant number of threats. But again, we also have to look at the big picture here in terms of the Middle East, reducing tensions, de-escalating some of those tensions, and working towards a diplomatic resolution. So again, we think both can be true, and we'll continue to work toward that end.
Patrick Ryder there from the Pentagon. Appreciate your time as always, Pat.